let's talk about capital for a moment and return on equity. When you reabsorb the non-core business, the group ROE isn't going to look all that great. Where is it going to be? What's it going to look like? And where can people expect it to be a year from now?
Yeah, so that's why I did speak the other day. If you take the first quarter of 2016, the return on tangible equity was somewhere around 10% for the core. But when you got to the group results, after you put NOR core, it was almost down to 4%. So we lost 600 basis points. So the big question is, Jess, when you converge the core with the group, i.e. you take out a non-core, because you put more capital back into the business, does the return on tangible equity go down to meet where the group was before, or can you improve the profitability of that returning capital so the group's numbers approach the core numbers? And what happened in the first quarter of this year? The core's return on tangible equity was 11%, and the group's statutory results, actually Africa thing, was 9%. So the drag of non-core from 600 basis points to 200 basis points went all to the benefit of getting group up close to core, because we were able to take the capital that came back and deploy it in a very profitable way.
But on a reported basis, right? If you run those numbers through accounting standards, it's still...
No, on a reported basis, the group results, the issues related to the Africa sale, which is a non-cash, it's a very
So once that's all done, you'll be
so in the first quarter, just take out that Africa accounting change. The group's statutory return on tangible equity was 9%.
The reason I say once it's all done, because that's where you want to be. So
we want to get that 9 to 11.
And that will be when?
I think we have a very good chance of doing that within the next, 6 to 18 months.
6 to 18 months. So that gives people a timeline to work from.
Yeah.
So is Stuart Gulliver from HSBC talking crazy when he says universal banks can't earn a return on equity of greater than 10%?
Let's see. We've gone through a massive regulatory change in the banking industry, and the banks have had to adjust their businesses and their models to get there. What I think is important is to have a healthy, growing global economy. The financial industry needs to cover its cost of capital. You cannot have...
And you will be at 11%?
I think our cost of capital is roughly around 10% today.
Where do you need to be before you can consider raising the dividend again?
We cut the dividend in order to accelerate the closure of non-core. We're doing that in June. As our chairman said today at the AGM meeting, we know we have an obligation to get our dividend back to more normalized levels for our shareholders, and at the right time, working with both the board and the regulators, it will be a topic of discussion. But let's get non-core done.
But is that a 6 to 18 month question, or is that?
I'm not going to sort of go beyond what I've just said in terms of, we want to get to a more normalized place with our shareholders in terms of dividend policy. It is a board decision. You do that in consultation with the regulators. We had the stress testing here just like you do in the U.S. So let's see how that unfolds.
Once you've completed the restructuring and you're focusing on growth again, does that mean cost cuts are done?
First quarter of this year, on a group basis, cost-income ratio was 62%. 76 to 62. We're pretty close. I think what we've been telling our shareholders is once we get to that 60%, I do want to invest for a while in technology. If you go look at the desktop computing at Barclays, our systems are Windows XP. The CEO of Microsoft the other day told me he doesn't think anyone knows about Windows XP anymore, and they've stopped programming that.
Satya Nadella told you that.
Yeah. So we will. It's already started. By the end of this year, we'll have 30,000 of our employees on Office 365 in the whole bank by June of next year. That's the sort of investment that we have to make to get Barclays on its front foot.